Hey BookTube, welcome back to the History Shelf. I'm your host Peg. Today I come to you with a special fiction edition of books that are coming this summer and I think fall, early fall, from Europa editions. Many of you are familiar with the beautiful editions that they put out, and some of these works are translated from international authors. So I've been actually really enjoying reading translated literature of late. I'd say the last year and a half, well, maybe even 2 years. If you've been a longtime viewer of this channel, you've seen that progression. So in addition to history, I should say, as for those of you new to the channel, I primarily focus on history, but I also do some fiction, and big fan of mysteries, thrillers. But lately I've been reading a lot of contemporary literature that's in translation. So these are some beautiful new books with stories that appeal to me, also on a history level, that I think you might want to check out. I know that I will be making time this summer to read these. So some of these books I've got finished copies for, others are advanced reader copies. But let me start with this book because this book has got some buzz, and it's coming out May 30th. I just got the finished copy, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful hardcover. And this is called The House on Via Gemido by Domenico Starnon. Look at this beautiful Europa edition hardcover. This is coming out May 30th. So let me just... I did get an advanced copy, but I plan on reading this probably next month. I'm taking a week off for my birthday, the last week of June, and so I'm going to be doing a lot of reading that is not deadline related. In addition to doing this channel, I work a full-time job as a writer, copywriter, and then I also write book reviews in my spare time. So I'm a woman of wearing many caps, but I really want to read some things that have been on my list to read for a while, that I can either come back and talk to you about. And this is one of them, The House on Via Gemido. So, but look at this beautiful cover while I read to you what this book is about. Available in English for the first time, 2 decades after its publication in Italy, the extraordinary novel that confirmed Domenico Starnon as one of the greatest writers in modern Italian literature. Okay. The modest apartment in Via Gemido smells of paint and white spirit. The living room furniture is pushed up against the wall to create a makeshift studio, and drying canvases must be moved off the beds each night. Federe, the father, a railway clerk, is convinced of possessing great artistic talent. If he didn't have a family to feed, he'd be a world-famous painter. Ambitious and frustrated, genuinely talented, but full of arrogance and resentment, his life is marked by bitter disappointment. His long-suffering wife and their 4 sons bear the brunt. It's his firstborn who years later will sift the lies from the truth to tell the story of a man he spent his whole life trying not to resemble. Narrated against the background of a Naples still marked by World War II, there's a history aspect there, and steeped in the city's language and imagery, The House on Via Gemido, first published 20 years ago, is a masterpiece of contemporary Italian literature. And the translator here is Una Stransky. So this is coming out May 30th. Get this on your list. I know another booktuber, Johnny Keene. Many of you love and know Johnny Keene. He's been reading a lot of translated literature as well. So Johnny, you might be interested in this. Europa edition, May 30th, coming out. Johnny has given me a lot of great recommendations without knowing it, just by watching his channel. I picked up some books I'd never heard of that I'm really excited to get that are in works in translation. I'm really excited about. All right, so let's see what's next. This book, I got a finished copy, and again, this video is only about Europa editions, and that way it'll be a shorter video, and we can just get to the goods right away. This book is coming out in June 20th. But I was able to I got an advanced review, but I just got the finished copy with beautiful French flaps, and this is called Mrs. S. by Kay Patrick. can see here. Beautiful French flaps. Nice paperback. All right, so what are we looking at here with Mrs. S? Ooh, all right. This is going to be steamy, I think. Let me just read this real quick. Kay Patrick's stunning, sexy debut novel, Mrs. S, delves into the trenches of obsession, forbidden love, and queer identity. A fresh take on the campus novel, Mrs. S explores the power of desire with a precision and sensuality. Sensual. I always loved pronouncing it that way. When British people pronounce sensual, sensual. Okay. Sensuality that will leave readers sweltering and begging for more. Oh, I don't know. I'm a hard customer that way. She argues with the gardener. So begins Mrs. S, introducing the title character and the object of the unnamed narrator's desire. Newly arrived in England, the main character of Mrs. S has taken the position of matron at an elite English boarding school for girls, founded by the father of a famous dead author whose presence looms around every corner. The call of "Miss, Miss, Miss" echoes through the halls as the girls call to their new matron, but this moniker leaves the matron feeling unmoored and unsure of their own identity. Mrs. S, the headmaster's wife, on the other hand, is a paragon of femininity, worldly and self-assured, the matron's opposite in nearly every way. A long hot summer culminates in the eruption of desire and an illicit affair that rivals the summer's intense heat. But as the days shorten and summer comes to an end, a dreaded choice looms. Whoa! So this sounds steamy. I might blush a little reading this, but yeah, it's coming out June 20th. Mrs. S by Kay Patrick. And I do love the Europa editions. I'm always looking for their little logo there. Their books are just beautiful, beautifully bound as well. So we've got a lot of fun fiction coming out this summer from Europa editions. Keep an eye out for that one. The rest I have are advanced reader copies. So these are not the finished. These are not the finished ones, but I assume that some of this next book will have French flaps. It looks like it's a nice big meaty read. Logging in at over 500 pages. It appealed to me also from a like a foreign affairs, global history aspect. Yeah, anything having to do with Russia. I'm just fascinated by it. Nonfiction or fiction. I just will always read something if it's written by someone Russian, about Russia, about living in the past and the future and the present. I mean, I just love it. So this is called A Volga Tale by Guzel Yakina. Again, this is my advanced reader copy. It's coming out in September, so you're going to have to wait until September 19th for this one. But it's a real nice, it's a very nice advanced reader copy. I'm happy with this. So let's see what this is about while you look at this beautiful artwork. All right. So this is Yakina's second novel. And this was I didn't mention the first book was a winner of the Strega Prize. So let me just say this real quick. House on Via Gemido was a winner of the Strega Prize, as you can see right there on the front. So, I mean, this promises to be a really good read. Now, A Volga Tale was a finalist for the prestigious Prix Medicis 2021 and longlisted for the European Literature Prize in 2021 and named Best Foreign Book of 2021 in France. Set in the early period of Soviet history, 1920 to 1930s, this sweeping epic tells the story of the German colonies that settled along the banks of the longest river in Europe, the Volga River. In 1762 and 63, Catherine the Great, Empress of Russia, I mean, this is so up my alley, you guys know me by now, invited foreigners to settle in the deserted territories of the Russian Empire. In the century that followed, over 100 German colonies arose along the Volga River, eventually becoming the Volga German Soviet Republic. Two worlds irrevocably collide when Russian-German schoolmaster Jacob Bach falls in love across the Volga River with student Clara Grimm in this tale of fear and resilience between people and nations. let's see here. After Jacob is expelled from his native colony, Nadenthal, for their forbidden affair, the couple settles in a remote hamlet to raise their daughter, Enchi. Their serenity is short-lived after a violent... Okay, I feel like I'm giving way too much, so I'm going to stop reading. Let me just say, a meticulously researched novel, Yakina masterfully uses magical realism to highlight the harsh realities of Russia in the early 20th century. Collectivization, Stalinism, national repressions, and countrywide hunger. A Volga Tale is a classic tale on the human condition, how we survive, and how we persevere when haunted by our darkest terrors. So, a Volga Tale from Guzel Yakina. A nice, beautiful Europa editions coming September 19th. I probably will get to this one after the house in Via Gemido. That sounds fantastic. Now this little slim little volume, I'm really tickled by. It sounds delightful, and I was really thrilled to see it. Let me see if I've got my pub sheet for this one. I don't, but I'll read it on the back. Okay, this is coming out June 6th, so pretty soon. This is called The Road to Dalton by Shannon Bowring. This is my advanced reader copy, but a beautiful cover. I really like it. Coming out June 6th, about 240 pages, and this is a debut, The Road to Dalton. It's a novel about small-town America. It's 1990, and that's the year I graduated high school. It's 1990, and the lives of the inhabitants of Dalton, Maine play on. Rose goes to work at the diner every day, her bruises hidden from both the customers and her two young boys. At a table she waits, Dr. Richard Haskell looks back on the one choice that's charted his entire life, before his thoughts wander back to his wife Trudy and her best friend. Trudy and Bev have been friends for longer than they can count, and something more than lovers to each other for some time now. There's a theme going on here. A fact both accepted and ignored by their husbands. Across town, new mother Bridget lives with her high school sweetheart Nate and is struggling with postpartum after a traumatic birth. And nearer still is teenager Greg, trying to define the complicated feelings he has about himself and his two close friends. In most small towns, the private is also public. When one of Dalton's own makes an unthinkable decision, the community is left reeling. In the aftermath, their problems, both small and large, reveal a deeper understanding of the lives of their neighbors and remind us that no one is exactly who you think they are. The Road to Dalton offers valuable understandings of what it means to be alive in the world of pain and joy, conflict and love, and the endurance that comes from living. Indeed. So, The Road to Dalton, that sounds like an interesting little novel, and it's a debut by a debut author, so Shannon Bowring, I bet she's very excited to have this come out. I am excited to read it. So, the last book in my stack of new fiction coming from Europa editions. Now, this is definitely not the cover, obviously. This doesn't even have a design. This is coming out... Ooh, okay, so this is coming out in August. Let me see here. August 8th. So again, summer reads. We've got one coming out in September. So this is called Pet by Catherine Chige or Chige, but this will not be the cover. Obviously, this is my advanced reader proof. But what is... I could hold this up, but again, you're just going to be looking at... I mean, it was longlisted for the 2022 Women's Prize for Fiction and shortlisted for the Dublin Literary Award. But it's called Pet. And what is Pet about? Let me see from my pub sheet. Okay. Let's see here. Pet is a psychological thriller. I won't hold this up because it's not the cover. Pet is a psychological thriller in the vein of The Girls by Emma Cline, which I have not read, so I don't know. As a new school year starts, 12-year-old Justine and the other girls in her class are enamored of their glamorous, charismatic new teacher, Mrs. Price. The girls all vie for her attention, and their petty jealousies begin to play out. Soon a thief targets the school, and little things go missing from the classroom. Justine's sense that something isn't quite right grows ever stronger. With each twist of the plot, this gripping story of deception and the corrosive power of guilt takes a yet darker turn. Justine must decide where her loyalties lie. It says set in New Zealand in the 1980s. Interesting. And probing themes of race. That just made me think of Heavenly Creatures, which was not set in the 80s though, but, you know, schoolgirls run amok is what I think of when I think of Heavenly Creatures. Set in New Zealand in the 1980s and probing themes of racism, misogyny, and the oppressive reaches of Catholicism, Pet will take a rightful place next to other classic portraits of childhood betrayal, such as the Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, The Go-Between. Oh, look it! They just said it here. I promise you I didn't see this. They just mentioned Heavenly Creatures, which I just did. I promise you I did not see this listed. And Au revoir les enfants among them. All right. So again, this book is coming out August 8th. I might get a finished copy, which would be great, and then I can show this again on the channel, and you can see what the cover will look like. But in the meantime, yes, I was a fan of the movie Heavenly Creatures, and the whole backstory, and that was just fascinating about the real-life story of the two girls. And interestingly enough, one of the girls has passed away recently. Well, she's not a girl; she's a woman in her 80s, because this happened back in let's do the math, Peg. 1950 or 1960s? 1950s. Anne Perry is the novelist who's written all those mysteries, but she was one of the girls. I think Julia, right? Julia, yeah. Anyway, guys, what do you think of these beautiful Europa editions? One of them yet to be revealed. Stories are interesting. To me, they also could be considered like a historical fiction in a way. I really enjoy. I just enjoy expanding my bubble, my reading bubble, if you will. So let me know what you think of Europa editions, if you have some, and if you're excited for these titles. But I look forward to hearing from your comments and just whatever else you have to say. Thanks for watching the channel. Come back soon. We will have more books as always. Take care. Bye.